My honey is raw and unfiltered. Our pigs are raised on silvopasture. My friends, so what? In today's episode, we're going to talk about why you need to be explaining the benefits behind your products, not just the features. And we're going to discuss the 3 powerful words that will help you do just that. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hey there, this is Corinna Bench, and welcome to the My Digital Farmer podcast. In today's market, it's not enough to just grow your product. You've got to know how to sell it too. Welcome to the My Digital Farmer podcast, where we reveal online marketing strategies and tips to help farmers like you get better and more confident at marketing. Learn how to find more customers, increase your sales, and build a strong brand for your farm. Let's start the show. Well, welcome to episode 234 of the My Digital Farmer podcast. I am your host, Corinna Bench, one of the farmers at Shared Legacy Farms out in Elmore, Ohio. I'm also the founder of mydigitalfarmer.com, which is all about trying to help other farmers get more confident in their marketing and sales strategies so that you can grow a profitable business online. How are you today? Welcome back to the show to all of my regular listeners. If you're new to the show, I'm really glad you're here. Thanks for checking it out. And I encourage you, if you like what you hear today, to subscribe to the podcast and go listen to some of my back issues. There's some really good stuff in here. You could get a really good education in farm marketing just by listening to the 200 plus episodes from my archives. I always tell people to go and listen to the first 10 if you're really green, because I designed those long ago when I first started to actually be a little bit of a marketing on-ramp. But another great place to go if you're trying to learn the fundamentals of marketing is to just get onto my email list, because I have essentially a crash course in farm marketing that I'm going to drip out to you through an email sequence campaign that you'll get over the course of 3 months. Every week you get an email from me, and I share some of my best stuff. I give you some free gifts. It's really good. So you can subscribe to that at mydigitalfarmer.com/subscribe. Today's podcast is sponsored by my friends at Local-Line. It's official. Local-Line has launched their new and highly anticipated subscriptions feature. Now, creating subscriptions for your customers has never been easier. Subscriptions allow your farm to turn one-time orders into recurring revenue. Use Local-Line's subscription feature to run your CSA or increase your cash flow and increase customer loyalty. Subscriptions is very flexible. You can add, edit, and cancel subscriptions at any time in your back office and allow customers to manage their settings and add one-off purchases to their orders. You can also offer different subscriptions for different customers, like a standing order for chefs and a CSA box for CSA members. Local-Line's subscriptions feature also supports variable weight products like meat and seafood, so you can offer subscription products to all your customers, no matter what you sell. In addition to all of that, Local-Line subscriptions is very affordable. You can add it to your Local-Line account for just $25 a month. Now, for podcast listeners of the My Digital Farmer podcast, Local-Line is offering a free premium feature for an entire year when you sign up using my coupon code, MDF2023. That includes subscriptions. So why not try it out today? I love Local-Line. Head to mydigitalfarmer.com/local-line and be sure to use my coupon code MDF2023 to get that free premium feature for 1 whole year. For more information, check out the link in the show notes. And now back to the show. Well, this podcast is going to drop at the end of October, and by that time, I will have my early renewal campaign for my CSA finished. Actually, as I'm recording this right now, I've got all of the different assets positioned and scheduled. All the emails are written, all the social media posts are written, and I have my bonus purchased. I'm pretty much just letting the promotion happen, which is kind of a cool thing. When you don't have to be live in the moment and implementing things, you can just set it and forget it. It's a really great place to be. But I am a little bit nervous. I will open the doors to my offer on October 15th, and hopefully I will see some really good results. I'm going to share the results of that promo campaign next week in the podcast. So if you are interested in hearing how did I run my CSA early bird promotion campaign, what were some of the strategies that I used, and how did it go, just be aware that I will be sharing what happened next week. I don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully I'll have a good turnout, but regardless, I will share the whole story. All right, let's talk about today's topic. I have been wanting to talk about this for a long time. I have this list on a Google Sheet of topic ideas for the podcast. I'm always adding things to it. And this one has been on that list for a while, and it kept getting bumped down. And something happened this past week where I saw this principle in action, and it really worked on me. And I thought, oh, this is a great story to tell. I'm going to finally make this the week where I talk about this concept. And this is where today I'm going to be speaking about the 3 most powerful words you could argue in marketing, some of the 3 most powerful words that you can be using in your marketing and in your messaging. And these 3 words are, which means that. Okay, everybody say that together. Which means that. Now, closely related to this phrase, which means that, there is a cousin, and that cousin is also a very powerful set of words. It is so that. Okay, let's all say that together. So that. Okay, so whether you say which means that or so that, today we are going to learn about the power of these phrases. And this all revolves around the concept of talking about your features of your product versus talking about the benefits of your product. And if your brain is sort of frying right now, just stay with me. We're going to talk this all out, okay? Let's just back up and say something pretty obvious. When you are pitching your products or a very specific offer, maybe you have like one signature offer that you feel like you're always talking about. In my case, it would be the CSA membership. That is a significant signature offer, right? But I also have a online store type of customer where it's like, hey, just shop online, a la carte. That is also a type of offer or product, consistent product that I'm trying to pitch. But when you're selling this offer, your message is what counts. How you talk about it, what words you choose to say when you speak about it really does matter. And I talk about this a lot on this podcast. You have to understand who your ideal customer is when you're building your message. You really need to know who's the person that typically buys this product? Who's the person who would love, love, love this product that I don't have to really convince very hard because it's a natural match for what they want and for their desires of their heart and their values, right? And when we know this ideal customer and we know how they talk as it relates to our product, those words are really powerful. And those are actually the words that we want to be using when we pitch our products. We want to be speaking the language of our customers. We want to be saying the things that are happening in the mind of your clients. What are they actually saying in their heads? And we want to be parroting that back out. Okay, so I've always said that when you're selling your offer, your message matters. The words are what sell, okay? Now, I want to just share an example, like what was the trigger for today's podcast topic? I listen to podcasts all the time because I'm driving my son to aviation school and then I have to go pick him up. So I'm in the car a lot. And one of the podcasts that I listen to is The Daily. And this is from the New York Times. It's a New York Times podcast. And there was an ad on The Daily for the New York Times And what it was about, it was some reporter who comes on. I wish, what I really should have done is gone and found the ad and then actually read the script that they were saying, because it's just really powerful. It was a reporter that was sharing, kind of just pulling back the curtain and saying, hi, I'm one of the reporters at the New York Times, and I'm stationed down in Guantanamo Bay, and I am keeping track of this story. And she was just sharing some insights on how this is a story that continues to develop. There have been people incarcerated since 9/11 who have still had no trial, no plans for a trial, et cetera, et cetera. And she just brought to light this circumstance that's happening in the world that isn't talked about a whole lot in the media. And I was like, wow. That's right. That is still happening. I'm glad that she brought that to my attention, and that's not just, and that's not cool. And, more people should be talking about this. What can we do to move the ball forward? And so her pitch, as she was talking and sharing how she does this story and how she's keeping track of this, she was saying, I believe it's really important that stories like this continue to be put in front of the American public, in front of the world. We can't forget the people that are dealing with this, and these stories need to be told. And because of the New York Times and a podcast like this, I'm able to be that voice that makes sure that about the stories that matter, and so that we can, help justice prevail, right? So after I heard that, I was like, oh, and then her pitch was, please subscribe if you want more stories like this, if you want to make sure that people like me can continue to share the truth and share stories like this that matter, then please subscribe to the New York Times, and then gave the call to action where to go to invest. And I have to tell you that it pulled on my heartstrings. And I thought, oh, I love this show. I love what they're all about. I love that they are a media source that is putting another voice out there, that is sharing a perspective that needs to be spoken. Okay, now whatever your political leanings are, you might be on the other side. That's fine. Like, I love that your voice is out there too. I just really appreciate that there is something like The Daily and that there is something like the New York Times that is doing this work. Now, where am I going with this? Because I always look at things through a marketing lens, I just feel like I see things all the time now. I don't know if that's happening to you as a result of listening with me and learning about marketing, but I feel like I see a lot of things through a marketing lens now. I noticed my reaction to this ad. I could step outside myself and see I am having a response to great copywriting. And I even said this to my son in the car. I was like, oh, that was such good copy. That was a great ad, because it pulled on my heartstrings. Now, what was the New York Times trying to do? Well, they were trying to get me to subscribe. They were trying to get me to give money to their reporting efforts, to a membership at the New York Times. But deep down, how do they go about trying to acquire my compliance with that, my loyalty to them? Well, they sold me not on the deliverables that would come with a membership to the New York Times. They didn't sit there and give me the bullet points of, you will be getting this many articles per week, and you will have access to over 2,000 articles and blah, blah, blah podcasts for free that are ad free. Like, I didn't get a bullet list like that in this ad. Instead, I got a story that told me about what was happening as a result of the dollars that were spent and how it was moving the ball forward for the sake of justice in the world, right? What they were selling me, the way they chose to spin it, they were selling me a chance to keep the truth from being hidden, right? I'm protecting freedom of speech. I am making sure that the stories that matter are being told. And that was very, very motivating. That was the benefit of my donation to the New York Times. If I were to become a member, this is the benefit that you receive. This is how it plays out in your world in real time. This is the feeling you'll have, and this is what it's doing for the greater good. Now, that's very different than pitching me a list of features and bullet points and deliverables that actually come with this product membership. Okay. And that's the distinction that I want to lift up to you today, because a lot of times in marketing, when you see, and I'm guilty of this myself, when I see commercials being shared, or when I see things on social media when they're pitching a product or a membership or an actual physical product to buy, what they'll focus in on are a list of the features, the descriptor words, and the things that come with it, as opposed to, this is how your life's going to change. This is the benefit. This is the so what of the offer, right? And here's what I want you to think about. This is what we're going to explore for the rest of this episode. When you are selling your product, your vegetables, your meat, your flowers, your honey, whatever it is, you are not just selling the thing itself. You are not just selling the bullet points. You are selling the so what. You are selling the which means that. Okay? So I want to make a distinction today between talking about the features versus the benefits of your product in your marketing. Now, they are both important. They should both be there. And a lot of you are doing a great job of pointing out the features of your farm products. You are doing a great job of listing the bullet points on your website. This podcast is sponsored by the Thriving Farmer podcast. Today, we are starting the Farm Business Minute with Michael Kilpatrick from the Thriving Farmer podcast. For the next 8 weeks, Michael will be sharing a quick farm business tip. Let's dive in to the question of the week. Michael, today we're talking through another farm business tip, and I want to ask you, if you're a brand new farmer setting up your business structure, how do you decide what business structure to use?
Yeah, that's a great question. And when I first started ours, we just did a DBA. So, Michael Kilpatrick doing business as, at that time it was Kilpatrick Family Farm. Now, that's the simplest way. There's not a lot of tax advantages for that. But that is one of the easiest ways to get set up. And basically a DBA is a legal structure that basically sets you up in business, but it's still in your name. One of the most common and popular, and it actually really does help you with your taxes, is to set up an LLC. So that's a limited liability corporation. That's, one of the important things that, differences that people have right there is those two ones. Now, one of the things as your business expands, you may want to do an LLC taxed as an S Corp, and that's different. And all of these is something that you definitely want to chat with your CPA about. So your CPA is basically the guy that's going to do your taxes at the end of the year, because they would obviously be able to look at your specific situation and know exactly how to set it up, and what would make most sense for you. But those are your two main ones. Our particular business, we have two entities. We actually have a nonprofit 508c1a food church, which is the face of our business, which sells to the public. And then we have a sister company, which is the LLC, and the LLC holds the assets for the company and makes the payroll and things like that. So we have it set up a little bit different just because of how we are trying to make sure that we comply with local regulations. But most people, it's the most common is they start with, let's say, a DBA, and then once it makes sense to move into an LLC, or you can just go straight into an LLC and, save that step. But all of these, make sure you talk to your CPA or tax person to make sure they are comfortable with how you're going to set it up and that you're doing it according to them. And you can typically set these business structures up relatively cheaply. LegalZoom is I have no affiliate with them, but they are a great place to do it. You shouldn't have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to do this. It's relatively simple and relatively cheap.
Yeah. And I also think it's important to emphasize that as your business grows, you may need to change the structure as well. And
yes,
this isn't a forever decision. So that kind of takes the pressure off. You can change it as your needs change, as the goals of your business change, as the size, income levels, and so forth.
Yeah. Yeah. The S Corp aspect, especially, you don't even need to think about until you really start making serious money in your business.
Yeah. So bottom line, if all of these acronyms feel like mumbo jumbo to you, you should reach out to your CPA and they'll give you a step-by-step guide through what you need to know.
Absolutely. Or just a local business help like SCORE. SCORE is a national business help organization. And one of those business owners there should be able to walk you through what you need.
If you want even more farming tips like this one, make sure to check out the Thriving Farmer podcast. Every week, we connect with an interesting guest from farmers, both new and experienced, talented artisans, or an industry expert sharing about how farmers can thrive. With over 250 episodes and 1 million downloads, there is an episode for everyone. Visit thrivingfarmerpodcast.com or search your favorite podcast app for Thriving Farmer.
That was your farm business tip of the week. Check out the Thriving Farmer podcast with Michael Kilpatrick on your favorite podcast app. And now back to the show. But some of you are missing the mark and forgetting to include the little bit of language that comes after that features, bullet point, deliverables list, and helping translate to the customer why the heck it matters. Let me give you an example. So here's some descriptors that I see on a lot of farm websites or in product descriptions. And you guys, I am guilty of this too. Like, this whole exercise made me actually go and do some changes in my product descriptions. But here's some examples of what I would call a list of features. Regeneratively raised. Our beef are grass-fed. That's a feature. Unusual varieties of vegetables packed each week in your share. That's a feature. Our pork is raised on silvopasture. Feature. Locally sourced fruits. Feature. Rare, limited edition. Turkey that moves on pasture. All descriptors, all features of your product. Wonderful. I'm glad you have those. The problem, though, with features, with just talking about features, is that we as the salesperson have assumed that the customer has a level of understanding that he or she simply doesn't always have, especially at the beginning of their journey in your brand. Being on the inside, looking out, we might think everyone knows what silvopasture means and why it matters. Today, I want you to remember it's not enough to talk about features without also mentioning the benefits as a result of those features. So what do I mean by that? The benefits are the so what statement that comes after the feature. And this is where we get to those power words that I was talking about at the beginning. The title of this episode is the 3 most powerful words in marketing, right? And these words are, which means that. So I want you to silently add the words, which means that, after each of your bullet points or sales elements or descriptors or features. Okay, so for example, we're a regeneratively raised farm, which means that, and then you have to explain to people why that helps them. How does that make the product better for them? Because they may not know that. Our beef is grass-fed, which means that you fill in the blank. You guys, I'm not a beef cattle raiser. I don't do regeneratively raised. So I actually don't know how best to respond to that. I'm going to be honest. So you've got to tell me, you've got to teach me. You've got to teach your customers and your prospects. Our hens are pasture raised. Okay, that's just the feature. Tell me why that matters. So what? Our hens are pasture raised, which means that they eat grass and bugs, and that protein and beta carotene are what make your eggs so nutrient dense and tasty. Like, they don't know why the pasture part matters. Like, eating the grass, eating the bugs, that's actually what's putting the protein into the egg, and that's actually changing the taste of the egg. You guys, you have to connect the dots for them. They don't know that, right? So that's what I mean when we talk about benefits. We are talking about the so what part of your offer. Our produce is certified organic, by the USDA and Real Organic Project. Okay, that used to just be what I had on my website and in my product description for my CSA membership. It was just one of the bullets. And after thinking about this process of the benefits versus the features, I'm like, I need to tell them why that matters. So our produce is certified organic by the USDA and Real Organic Project, which means that you can feel secure about the safety of what your kids are eating every day. Okay, I don't actually love that. I just sort of threw that together. But I need to explain to them that this means you have security, you have peace of mind. You know that your kids are eating something completely safe. Here's another example. If you are a beekeeper and you sell honey, sometimes I will see things that say, our honey is raw, unfiltered. Okay, so what? So now we're going to add that little phrase, which means that, help me know why that matters. Okay, our raw honey is unfiltered, which means that it has the highest amount of pollen and nutritional compounds, making it the most beneficial choice for your health. Oh, that's so much more helpful. Now I can actually see the benefit. That's casting vision for me. So this whole exercise caused me to take a different look at my product description for my CSA shares because I'm about to start selling them in my early bird renewal campaign. So I had to go in and update the pricing, and I took a look at the whole product description. This is sort of the one time a year where I am intentional about reviewing it and changing the language if I want to change it. And so as I looked at it, I was like, wow, I could be adding so much more to the product description to speak to the benefits as opposed to just the features. Now, I don't know if this is actually all that important for a renewal campaign because frankly, many of my customers aren't sitting there and reading the product description in detail. But I will have some spots left over after my CSA renewal campaign. And I will be sending brand new eyes to this offer who have never tried a CSA. And they will probably read this entire product description. And so knowing that, I said, well, I'm going to update this description because I have new people coming into the funnel soon. And I might as well take care of it now. And that way, when I can open the doors for them a few days later, this is going to be optimized and it's going to speak to some of this benefit language. So here's what I did. Let me just read to you what it used to say. Okay, just bear with me because I want you to see how it used to be just a list of features. And then I went in and I changed it up. I added the which means that. Okay, so here's what it said. Membership, there were other things in the product description, but this was the bullet point list. Membership also includes access to private Facebook group, certified organic by USDA and Real Organic Project, training and support from our CSA coach, our digital library of cooking resources and coaching support, a weekly CSA unboxing video, weekly recipes and access to farm events, ability to buy additional product each week from the online store, exclusive on-farm chef dinners, and then 5% off all orders placed with Citizen Salmon Alaska. Okay. Now, at first glance, you might be like, great, wow, that's a lot of stuff you're offering with that membership. And that's the whole reason I stack a bunch of things to make the membership look really valuable, right? It's not just vegetables. But that's just a list of the features. That's not the so what. And as a result, I went back and I rewrote them. And here's how I've adjusted some of that language. Access to private Facebook group for CSA members so that you can collaborate and be inspired. Certified organic by USDA and the Real Organic Project for the highest nutritional density. Training and support from our CSA coach to help you use your box each week and not waste a thing. Our digital library of cooking resources and coaching support. It's incredible. A weekly CSA unboxing video to identify new veggies and how to prepare them. Weekly recipes and access to farm events to challenge you in your cooking. Ability to buy additional product each week from the online store so that you can customize your order and get exactly what you want. Exclusive on-farm chef dinners to experience lasting memories around great food. 5% off all orders placed with Citizen Salmon Alaska so you can feel good about protecting our national fisheries. All right, that was just kind of a first stab at it. It's not perfect, But I wanted to share that with you as an example of how you can take a list of features and add some of that language, the which means that, or the cousin to which means that is so that, and play around with some of that language. And now all of a sudden, I'm helping a person see why it matters that I'm USDA organic, why it matters that they get access to an online store to buy other things. So let's make this practical for you. I want you to think about your product, and I want you to pick a feature. What's something that you talk a lot about? And I want you to add the words, which means that, after your feature. And I want you to fill in the blank. What would you say? I want you to practice that right now. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a list of features that I have seen used by farmers, that I have used myself, frankly. And I'm going to say it out loud, and then I'm going to have a little bit of a pause, a little bit of silence in the show, and I want you to try and put a sentence behind it. So that, or a which means that. Okay, so here we go. Let's just play around with this. We are a regeneratively raised farm, which means that. What would you say? Okay, here's our next one. Our beef are grass-fed, which means that. Yeah, this is a little tricky, right? You got to think about it. Okay, here's the next one. We offer unusual varieties of veggies packed each week in your share, which means that. How does this benefit them, right? That's what we're asking. It's powerful to use the word you in your response, right? Which means that you, XYZ, help them see what it does for them. Okay, next one, ready? Our pork is raised on silvopasture, which means that. That one's good. Okay, next one. Rare, limited edition, which means that. Okay, and the last one. Our turkeys move on pasture, which means that. Okay, I hope that was helpful for you. This episode was meant to spotlight the distinction between a feature and a benefit. We must learn to translate features into the language of our customer, whose only question, frankly, is what's in it for me? You need to be able to answer that. You need to connect the dots for them because they may not see it themselves. So here's your homework for today. I want you to go through your website and I want you to see where you could add some which means that language. Go through your social media posts, and before you hit publish, ask yourself, do I need to add some which means that language? In your emails, if you ever find yourself focusing on features, maybe just hit the pause button and say, have I added some which means that? Stop talking about the features so much, my friends. Let's start talking about the so what. Today's show notes can be found at mydigitalfarmer.com/234. If you like today's episode, please go and share it with a friend. I'm trying to help as many farmers as possible, and I feel like there's so much good stuff in this podcast, in these podcast archives. So if you could just tell people that I exist and send them to a specific episode, that would be so amazing. If you want to get onto my email list and get that crash course in farm marketing, I have some free stuff to send your way. It's going to make your marketing better, I promise. Please subscribe at mydigitalfarmer.com/subscribe. I'm also on Instagram at mydigitalfarmer. I show up there in Instagram stories, and sometimes in Instagram Reels. I'd love to connect with you there. Thanks for joining me today. You guys have a wonderful week, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.